Come on. There we go. Now we are live.
Now we're live.
Yeah, much
Brilliant.
better. Oh. Now then, welcome everyone, however many of you there are, to the first officially named broadcast from Safe Gamers on Lore. We are officially calling ourselves the Towers Watch. And we actually officially are going to have an email for questions to be sent to. Hello to Rebecca and Larger Brute in our chat there. And I think we still have Haniqua hiding somewhere in there.
Somewhere.
Oh. This evening or morning or afternoon or whatever it is for you, wherever you are, we are going to be talking about the Hive. Before we actually get to the Hive, we're actually going to lead this stream with some conversation about the Fallen, mostly because we encounter a Fallen house here in the first mission, and they're never really explained as to why those Fallen are there or what banner they might fall under, and it's actually pretty interesting. So we're going to start there, and we actually have one question related to the Fallen, or was it two? Did we have the other question?
I think it was just the one. I think it was just the one.
Alright. Well, I am going to take us down to the moon. We're going to let them run their cutscene that we can't skip and can't ignore. Here we go. Oh. Hello to Watersby. That's what I'm going to call you. Watersby. Or Watersby. Oh. And here we go.
We gave up the moon to keep the Hive
The
away from
moon.
Earth. We hope that would be enough for them.
Gave up the moon. Silly us. Oh, let's see here. Hello, Shadowfire.
I used to look up here at night and wonder what the Hive were doing, but the only activity I could ever pick up was hazy, like it was blocked or buried.
Blocked or buried. If only the ghost knew. Oh wait, the ghost probably does know just how ironic that is. Buried. And here we are.
Searching for a
So Lau, what can you tell us
but he just
about this particular fallen house we're heading up towards?
his last known coordinates are up ahead.
This particular fallen house is called the House of Exile, and they are a new house. They weren't one of the original houses that fled the fallen homeworld after the whirlwind, which ended their golden age. And they're made of basically the remnants of other houses that either didn't make it to our solar system, or those who have chosen to leave the houses that exist at the moment in our solar system. For whatever reason, they might have been exiled, they might not agree with their old Kel strategy for the house. So they've joined together and made their own house called the House of Exile. And they reside only on the moon. And they can be distinguished by the color green. All their armor is green, their capes are green. But interestingly, they have no sigil, no logo, unlike the other houses.
Which, with how the Fallen work, is almost enough to identify them all by themselves.
Exactly. Symbolism is so important to the Fallen. It's their sense of identity.
Oh. To answer your question, Shadowfire, my previous gamer tag was Arbitrage L, and I changed it pretty recently. So yeah, you and I have. I ran with you for a little while. We ran a Nightfall a little while back. You, me, and Suncat, I believe. So, first thing we encounter here is Fallen. which is just entertaining because, you know, we start off and we think, oh, we're heading over to the moon and it's going to be new and exciting, and oh, look, more Fallen.
The Fallen are everywhere.
Some of this equipment shows recent activity.
That's a lesson learned.
Could be the Guardian's ghost.
Hey.
Yeah.
Are we activating this?
Yeah. Keep ourselves
Let's
moving.
do it.
So what area are we in here, Lau? You told me something about this being a method of
Oh, this
supply
building?
transport, correct? Yeah.
He was looking
Yeah.
for the remains of the
We are currently standing in the first light lunar facility, which was the first base on the moon, if you like, that was created by humanity during the Golden Age.
We're being
They expanded to the moon to basically increase their mining operation for helium, which so much Golden Age technology depends upon. This building that we're standing in right now followed later. This wasn't part of the original installation. It was an add-on, if you like. But basically, as humanity stretched out into the solar system to create colonies on new worlds, we ran into a slight problem, and that was that it was expensive and difficult to get supplies to these colonies. We could have done it by ship, but again, it was too expensive, it took up too many resources. So this building was built, and it's basically a mass accelerator. A giant gun, if you like.
For supplies.
Would be put into the tube above us. Yeah, for supplies. Supplies would be put into the tube above us. Then it will be fired at light speed towards the colony coordinates that we're expecting these supplies. Fire it through the atmosphere, into space, into the orbit of the planet that the colony was built upon, and then their ships would come up and collect it from orbit. And that's how you got your stuff to the colonies during the Golden Age.
So there you go. You now know that this is not just an inexplicable giant flashing thing. This is actually, you know, significant, which is just, it's sad because a lot of people just don't know how many of these objects and buildings and items are actually significant things and not just structures to kind of fill the area. And Bungie was very intentional when they designed all this.
Every building has a secret hidden behind it somewhere.
Which is nice. And this building, you said it was actually built by the Chinese Federation, correct?
Yeah, the Chinese Federation were the first people to create a moon base in the Golden Age. So, sorry America and Russia, they beat you to it. Which is why all the logos are in Chinese, like we can see this one on the wall up here. Basically translates as First Light, which is the name of the lunar base.
To answer your question, where's my there? The process, you should receive a message back that informs you that you know, they'll get back to you. Someone will contact you as soon as they can, and they'll set up a time for you to do sort of a interview, as it were, with them, and then we'll see about getting you joined in here. But we get a lot of requests for new people, and we have a good team for it, but just sometimes we get a little bit overflowed, so it can take some time to process all the different people trying to join up. But I'm very glad you're interested, and we love getting new people, and I'm glad you're here on the stream. So moving forward, you know, we've got all these fallen, but you know, we know that the moon wasn't taken by the Fallen. Which it would have been convenient if it were the Fallen, because it'd probably be in a little bit better shape. Yeah. As a matter of fact, we lost the moon to the Hive, which, well, we'll get more to what the Hive are and who they are as we approach the temple. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on with the Fallen here and in this area of the moon, Lau?
No, I think we're done with this area.
Okay, well, we're just gonna kind of pile through these real fast.
We'll come back to the House of Exile later, briefly touch on them, but for now, I think we're good.
Anybody have any questions on the House Exile or just the moon itself? Anything related to that? Questions are probably the easiest way to help us keep things moving.
Oh, you're getting run over by a pike.
No, I'm running over the pike. I punched it.
Punch the pike.
It doesn't seem to take any damage unless it's being driven by a fallen. Yeah, this is the lore stream where we violently destroy pikes.
Precious resources of the fallen.
So we're gonna head over this way. The big hole in the side of the moon? Oh, and yes, Aniqua, the giant bridge is actually basically a giant supply cannon. Nahaldrin, are you wondering...
Supply cannon.
The Hellmouth? Is that what you're wondering about?
This is where he was headed.
I believe she is referring to the Hellmouth. Whoa! Watch
The-
where you're pointing that thing.
The Hellmouth? Well, the Hellmouth is a byproduct of the giant battle that occurred when we first really encountered the Hive here on the moon. Due to a big fiend that we know by the wonderful name of Crota. He and his massive, terrifying blade of death came and combated our guardians, which it was the largest army of guardians we had mounted thus far. Correct? Just the most
It was
massive
1,000
force.
strong, which doesn't seem like much by today's standards, but when most of humanity has been wiped out, that's a pretty substantial number.
So we had this massive, massive army of guardians, and we thought, of course, this many guardians, what are the odds that we would fall against some Hive army? So we came with our army, and we met the Hive, and we met Crota, and found just how vastly unprepared we were, because Crota stormed out with his blade and cut apart and cut open the moon and slew and drained the light from all of the guardians except for a select few who were sent. And thus we have the Hellmouth and everything that lurks beneath it, and the Hive colonization and the giant holes. And that's why the moon is left in such terrible ruins.
The Hellmouth also serves as the Hive's base of operations for their plans to invade Earth and take it in the name of Oryx. So it's where they're breeding their army to destroy us all.
Which is why the Vanguard, after Crota killed so many Guardians, they banned all military action on the moon. And that's why Lau pointed out, we don't get any Vanguard support or any real clearance here on the moon, and that's because the Vanguard is actually disavowed or disallowed themselves from sending anything or actually ordering or dispatching anything to the moon. Just due to what happened, they can't really associate themselves with any action they're against militaristically. The giant bubbling slime
still in
pit?
effect when we're here as well.
Yeah.
We're here. We're not allowed to be here, but we're here.
Yeah, what are rules? Giant bubbling slime pit. There are a lot of giant bubbling slime pits around here with the Hive. We think most of those are they're creepy breeding, spawning things, right?
I think we found it.
Spawning pools, essence of the darkness. Maybe they drink
Bad.
it, I don't know.
It's lunch. Giant festering. The Hive are lazy and they like to keep their food handy everywhere. I'm not sure which. Can you think of a specific giant bubbling slime pit that might be referenced, Lau, in the Hellmouth?
The Hellmouth itself?
I mean, the Hellmouth is... Okay, do you mean, at the base of the Hellmouth?
Could be referencing the miasma that rises from the Hellmouth.
Yeah, there's that.
Green, bubbling gas.
I imagine that's just, acid. Death acid.
Death acid.
Yeah,
there
that's
you have
what-
it, guys. That's what green slime is.
Straight from Traveler's Blade. You heard it here. Death acid. We don't encourage acid around here. In response to a larger brute there, yeah, it really, theoretically we are allowed, but it's just that the tower and the Vanguard can't requisition or order us to go here. Death acid. That's what came from the Tower's Watch stream, guys. We've got death acid. Oh. Alright, well.
Seriously.
Let's get ourselves through this little cutscene here.
Poor guy.
That poor ghost. This cutscene takes an unusual amount of time to load.
There's nothing left.
Not even the light. Where's this goose? We may want to move back.
Well,
Wait
we will
for
tend
it.
to we'll tend to a few of the questions there after we sit here and shoot at some Hive. We actually have
Interesting
someone.
thing is, since the battle we lost to Crota, the Hive have kept the Hellmouth locked. We're the ones who opened it. Whether that was a good idea or a bad one, I'm not entirely sure. But in doing so, we allow Eris to escape the Hellmouth, so it's not all bad.
Well, there's at least some good to be had from it. Oh, come on, come on.
Wow, I'm getting slaughtered.
Now, this mission goes very differently if you don't let yourself use your supers.
All about the necrochasm.
We actually have someone here in chat. We have Shadowfire asking about who that woman is, which is such an Escalent question. Who is that woman? Formerly...
We don't really know.
Yeah, we really don't. As far as anything is confirmed or not confirmed, we know that woman, she is the stranger. That's pretty much all there is to really be known officially about her. She is a rumor. Lots of people have devised theory about her. In the grimoire, she's described as a legend, frankly, as this sort of mysterious could-be that people say they've encountered that can't really be confirmed one way or the other. But for whatever reason, she does help us. But we'll come back to directly discuss the stranger at a different point, and the theories surrounding her. But there's a lot to be said about the stranger, and she more directly associates with the Vex, so we'll touch back on her then. For the moment, why don't you tell us about this wizard here, Lau? Because this is not just
Yes, the wizard.
some wizard here. I'll shoot things for you.
This is Vurok, who is one of the Ear spawn. And Titan in Eris's fire team when they tried to kill Crota. He was the first to fall to Vurok and her thrall. Poor guy.
Yeah, you would have thought that after they lost their only Titan, they might have considered falling back.
Ah!
Oh well. So, and just, you know, another interesting thing, that wasn't just some random wizard who they happened to throw a name on. That wizard had reason and story that we didn't know about before. Here's Shadowfire with another interesting question. Does Eris really have a third eye, and is she still human? I'm not sure we can answer the first one, but I feel
Oh,
pretty...
I can.
You can?
I
You
can.
can? All right, look at that.
Yeah.
I am ever impressed. Does she have a real third eye?
Eris does have 3 eyes. The Hive stole from her her light and her sight, and in turn, she stole their eyes. She ripped them from their corpses and made them a part of herself, so that she could see in the dark of the Hellmouth and understand the motivations of the Hive to better help the city. And with them, she receives visions from the Hive gods, which allow her to basically foresee what they plan for us on Earth, which is why she's able to warn us about Crota and inevitably Oryx as well after we kill Crota.
There you go. Now you know. Eris has a third eye, and it is not necessarily what you'd expect. Was she originally human, or was she... I mean, her skin's just kind of deathly. So, I mean, I'm not sure if she could explicitly be considered human in the fact that she has kind of forged herself into and with the Hive. But I suppose just as far as anything goes, it would have to be stated that she is human as far as we can know.
She is forever changed. She fused her light with the dark Hive magics to survive, and in doing so, she has irreversibly changed herself. She is a changed and driven warrior, no longer human.
Oh. And on another note, moving back here to we'll get to that, Autostyre. We'll touch back on Crotason. Okay, we have more questions on Eris, so we're just gonna stick with Eris for a moment here. We have someone wondering how long was she down there? How long ago did they go down?
Long time.
Yeah.
Eris is quoted saying that she was trapped in the Hellmouth for countless cycles. Cycles being orbits of the moon. So she was here for many, many months, perhaps even a year, maybe longer. Just trapped down here in the dark amongst the Hive.
Yeah.
She lost her ghost, she lost her light, she lost everything. But she managed to escape, and with her help, she managed to defeat a god, which is amazing.
Yeah, no small feat. Oh, and yes, poor Eris indeed. Eris went through a lot to bring down Crota. I imagine, Watersby, that between, she was a guardian, or maybe could be said that she is, and so between that and the fact that she took their eyes, she made herself in part one with them, I imagine that there were more benefits than just sight and occasional visions. I imagine that those visions and the things she was provided with having their eyes helped her survive in general. I believe, wasn't Eris a warlock? Or was she a hunter?
No, she was a hunter.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
One of the ways she was able to remain undetected by the Hive was that Toland gifted her a warlock bond that somehow was infused with Hive magic. We don't really know how he got his hands on it, but he forged this warlock bond with Hive magic that would make the Hive think that she was one of their own.
Oh.
Whether that corrupted her, we don't know. Maybe it played some part in her transformation, in addition to her replacing her lost eyes with 3 new ones.
Yeah, which is good answer
And
there.
staying in such close proximity to the darkness.
Toland got it because it was Toland.
Because Toland, that's all you need to know.
Yep. Oh. So, and coming back here to the moon and the Hive and where we are, we have this ghost, which, well, we revive this poor ghost, or, well, sort of revive it. We sort of dispatch it back to be scavenged for what can be scavenged from it. Oh, we'll get to Toland, Shadowfire. We'll get to Toland. But this poor ghost we actually have 2 grimoire cards specifically dedicated to this ghost and from it. So I'm actually going to read both of these because it tells you so much about the Hive and the moon and what happened here, and it gives such an important view on what we were doing here on the moon and why we were here. So I'm going to read both of these, and then we'll finish up this mission and start moving on to our other topics and moving through and answer any other questions we might have. So this is Ghost Fragment 1, Hive. We were overwhelmed. I could not save mine, so I have hidden myself where I might be found by the others, if they even survive. There is most likely no possibility of my return to the city. I prepare here in summary the knowledge so painfully won by my guardian and our fire team. The moon has been geoengineered into an impregnable fortress, designed to support a vast number of creatures. If any mind could be evil enough to create them. Are they alive? They move, they shriek, they fall upon us in ravenous waves. But I see death, decay, and corruption, not life. We discovered, to our sorrow, one massive set of gates. There are likely more. We met a towering monster wielding a sword of utter darkness. The light only made it hungry. We tried to fight, and we fell. Too many times to remember. We were all brave, I assure you. May the light find guardians capable of facing this monstrosity, or I fear the moon may be lost to us forever. And this is Ghost Fragment 2, Hive. At the doors to the temple, he fell for the last time. He fell, and I could not reach him. My own light flickers. They took me down into the dark, past tiers of massed hive, more than we believed could exist. Past grisly nurseries hung with pupae, past writhing worms that they swallow whole. I saw the armaments of war. I am weak, so weak. They have clamped me to this spire while a black foulness eats my light. The wizard comes now and then to probe with her scaly claws into my systems, to inquire about my making, the city, what I have seen. I erase and dump as quickly as I can. They will learn little from me, but I am studying them. I know. Pain. Always pain. I have seen chasms beneath the surface, falling away into green nothingness. I have seen black cedars prepared for invasion. Their strength is not for their own. They draw from another force, something that corrupts, that distorts, that eats and will not be satisfied. The wizard is near. I feel her presence as a rip and a knot in the world. She tells me things that I immediately forget. I am too small to hold the vastness of them, or the terror. I am fading. I have no more that it can take. With my last light I say to the city, war comes again from the moon. This time they want Earth. Prepare. And that is all the information given to us by this ghost. This poor little ghost that went through so much to deliver us to this information that we don't even get to see in game, which I think is really the biggest tragedy of this. Is these were moving grimoires. These not only tell us about the Hive, about what's coming for us. These tell us about the ghosts and about how committed and desiring of the light and doing good they are, and how intrinsically, like, they're not just little robots. They have light and they have life. And this one suffered immeasurably to bring us this information. And it's because of this ghost that we actually proceed on with our next missions, that we pursue. It's from here to the world's grave, correct, Lau?
Correct, yes.
Yes. So, we're going to actually head out from this mission and head on to the world's grave, where we can start talking about just what is the world's grave. Why do we so fervently hunt down the world's grave? Because it's more than just a conclave of wizards or anything of that sort.
Give this ghost its last rites.
The ghost is
Yeah.
dead, but I can still read some of its memories. The Hive are raising an army here, preparing to invade.
Makes you wonder how many other ghosts have been captured, especially from Crota's war.
Oh, definitely. And each one is irreplaceable as far as we know.
Yeah. Every single ghost gone is gone forever as far as Guardians know. Our little irreplaceable Dinklebots.
Northbots?
Northbots to be, yes. And I think North is actually going to do an excellent job. I've heard what little was available to be heard from the strikes, and North definitely is already doing a very good job just bringing life to the ghost. And that's right, Watersby. It's very possible that some of that light returns, but I think in the case of at least this ghost, all of its light was devoured by the Hive. And it was
ripped it from its shell. It must have been agonizing for the poor little thing.
exactly. And so it was, by whatever means, able to preserve information and lock that away. But I think that light lost in a ghost is light lost. And we as Guardians should respect that and understand that every Guardian and every ghost that goes down is a matter of concern. We are not infinite. We are oh so finite against this monstrous tide of darkness. I love the music in this game. So excellently done.
Coming from an orchestral background, it's just, I appreciate it so much.
The movements are
Very
excellent.
That ghost we recovered found a library in their fortress called the World's Grave. It's said to hold everything they know of Earth. If you can get us down there, I'll steal all I can.
Oh. So let's see if we can brighten up the memory of this poor ghost by the fact that we are now headed in search of a library. And this library is a Hive library, which, you know, you wouldn't really expect the Hives to be bookworms, as it were.
There's an ancient knight.
But,
I can lead us.
I suppose they eat a lot of
Don't
worms,
scream in
maybe.
this library, it's okay. I'm sorry.
Oh no! Oh, I was laughing. I'm apparently giving Brute here in the chat an existential crisis. Oh.
Ooh,
So.
a message from someone in the stream.
Oh, look at that.
What's this from? Let's read it. We're not currently allowing guests, are we?
No, not at the moment. I think in some future streams we might bring on guests to help with different sections or just to bring some other opinions. But as we move through avoiding, you know, we're kind of avoiding conjecture and theories and anything that can't be more so confirmed for the most part with these streams. And so once we move on to being able to kind of just talk about, well, this may be what, you know, what's going on based on this and this and this, we might start bringing in guests and talking more theory and stuff like that. But for the time being, I think we found it really, it's working best just to have the two people kind of walking through what we know. With that said, what can you tell us about the world's grave, Lau?
Well, the world's grave, as we've covered, is a library, but not the kind of library with books in it. It's a digital library that basically amasses all knowledge that the Hive have learnt about the worlds that they've destroyed,
Those
the
knights
lives that they
just...
have ended, and their own history. Yeah, they just despawned, didn't
Yeah, they just ducked right out of it. Alright. So this world's grave it's important. Again, you know, we feel like when we're playing this game that we're just like, oh, I'm gonna go to another place and scan some more things. But no, this was a significant action, a significant mission. We are pillaging a massive store of information. And a store of information that other Guardians haven't accessed.
It's a whole necropolis down here.
it? It contains information about Hive origins, where they came from, how many worlds they've destroyed, their pantheon structure, everything about the Hive and what they've done in their existence is in that library. So it can be used as a weapon by other Guardians.
And here we are to
Knowledge
pillage
is
it.
power.
As two titans come to pillage a library.
I didn't think Titans were red.
They read the
Just a little bit of
expressions on their
trivia.
enemies'
This-
faces.
Yeah, just a little bit trivia. This room,
Mhm.
the Hall of Wisdom, is where the wizards reside in the Hellmouth. This is their domain,
Really?
which is surprising because we only see one, but this area was designed and built to house the wizards and their dark magic, which is why it has that mystical feel with the darkness swirling around this chandelier, and the shrine of Oryx is literally just over there. It's
That's
all about,
fascinating.
It's like a focus for the Hive magic.
Ah, yes,
And the World's
and
Grave that we're going to are a focus for the strength of the Hive, because that's where the knights reside, which parallels this room.
Ottostire is getting ahead of us here, mentioning that they break the
Oh.
Beckenstein limit.
They break the Beckenstein limit. I tell you, this ship is breaking the Beckenstein limit too.
Which, for those of you who don't know, Lau, do you wanna explain just what this Beckenstein limit is? Since they're just, you know,
The Beckenstein limit in.
they just like to, you know, throw information here at us and just assume that everybody
Once I
knows.
get all of these thrall out of my face.
Thralls make it hard to talk.
Okay. Yeah. All I can hear are screams. Basically, the Beckenstein limit is an idea in real-world physics where a certain area of space-time can only be inhabited by a certain amount of information or entropy that will fit within that space. And for those of you like me who don't do physics, that basically means the amount of stuff that can fit in a space.
Oh,
So
oh,
the-
I'm down.
Oh. First death of the stream.
Again, me. Ugh. This time I blame the Shrieker. Which,
So yes, when I apply this to the World's Grave as a library, it means that they have broken the amount of digital information that they can store within this database. The
So,
connotations of which are quite frightening.
in really, really simple terms, basically, they took an 8 gigabyte flash drive and put 8,000 gigabytes in it without disrupting
Yeah.
anything.
Exactly.
Which is
And
just
this is because
disturbing.
the Hive break physics. They break physics. They are an interdimensional race, if you like. They can travel between dimensions, as we saw that tomb ship cutting through into our world from another dimension to drop off troops.
Indeed, they
Hive possess this
literally,
power, and we do not understand it.
tear.
Here's another one. They're tearing a hole in the fabric of the universe to come into our dimension.
Oh, and we think that we stand such a mighty chance against them. We should all be a lot more concerned about what it's going to take to defeat Oryx.
Oh, definitely.
We aren't just gonna run up to him with our bullets and our light and crush him like we did Crota. This is a much different affair.
Crota was but a child compared to Oryx.
Quite literally was Oryx's child.
Oryx's child, yes.
Which,
But
you
yes,
know,
with the
running back real...
Bekenstein limit.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, carry on, carry on.
I was just gonna run back. Autostyre, you mentioned earlier, does Crota have a mother? Which, as far as we know, the Hive breed, like, moths, right?
Yeah, moths.
So I'm not really sure if they have mothers. You know, I haven't spent a ton of time researching how moths breed. It's not been overly important to me, but if it's really
Females are included in the breeding process.
you know, I'm just if Crota does have a mother, we should be very concerned that we're gonna try and kill Oryx. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, right?
You don't want to annoy Mrs. Taken King. That's something you don't want to do.
It'll be a pseudo expansion. I wouldn't be shocked if they somehow morphed that into a strike or something like that.
Oh yeah. We're actually going the wrong way.
Are
I
we?
just realised this.
I do
Yeah.
that so often in these missions. The Taken Queen. There we go.
The
We'll have
Taken Queen.
We'll have a mini expansion for the Taken Queen.
We do know that the Hive have consorts. That they do sort of practice a weird form of marriage, which is kind of strange.
And that was Omnigul was Crota's, right?
Yeah. Crota's queen.
And we
This is the key to the grave.
kind of killed her.
Well, he was a prince, so she was technically his princess.
that paints Omnigul in such a different light.
Omnigul in a pretty dress.
Can somebody do me a favor and Photoshop that? Photoshop Omnigul into a pretty dress.
I need to see this. Someone get on that.
Yep. Do us all a favor. I don't know. So any other Disney Fire, yeah. Any other questions here with Princess Omnigul or the moon or the world's grave, the Hive, anything?
This should lead us right to the grave.
Who is Iryat? Is Iryat just the jealous girl next door? that was Haniqua's question here in the stream. Oh, do we know anything much about Iryat?
We know that she's known as the Death Singer, and she has constructed for her master's glory a song that will bring all light and life to an end. And Toland hypothesizes that because she can sing the song and not die herself, the Hive aren't living creatures, they're not even undead. They are death itself. They are a force of nature which we cannot fight. You can rage against death as much as you like, but in the end we're all going to die.
Ah, you heard it here first. Everything ends in death. We're very optimistic here in the Tower's Watch.
But so that's so new life can be born. It's a cycle. Light creates, darkness destroys. Light creates, darkness destroys. It's a never-ending
just
cycle.
Fascinating that the Hive are such an antithesis to everything that we are. You know, we are, in response to death, we Guardians were brought back from death. And here we stand fighting death itself. And that's just such a fascinating poeticism. Speaking of poeticism, I'm going to go smash those things' faces in.
Do it. Kill. Beautiful.
There we go.
Poetry in motion.
I've actually wanted to do some fan fiction writing about a Titan and devote a long series or a long, space in that writing just to the Fist of Havoc's usage. So, I'm just gonna...
I've described a blink strike in detail before in my fanfiction.
Oh, that had to be fun.
Yeah.
Well then, any other questions here
We're
before
gonna
we
press
any other before we summon the hordes and bring this There we go. I'm not sitting.
Alright, I'll sit down.
Yeah. Anyone has any questions about... Oh, we have a lot of people talking about Toland. Toland. Why are all the Hive's layers
Can't discuss the
underground?
Hive without discussing Toland.
Well, you know, I really think that the Hive are all underground just because it inspires the light and life and through ground. I think it may be the continuation of there being an entity. You know, they darkness, they will thrive above, below, and you know, in race in their species description for why they so cling to the dark beneath. I couldn't say the dark below, that would have been too much.
I didn't hear any of that. You were cutting out all the way through.
Was I? Ah.
Yeah.
Well, that's terrible. Was I cutting out in the stream, guys? Could you hear me there, or was there just lag instead?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Maybe it just had a bit of a spike there.
Had a moment.
Well, I guess I'll just repeat myself real fast. There's not like any in their grimoires or anything we know. Is there any explanation for why they send underground, or does my my hyper poetic explanation suffice?
I think your explanation was spot on. In addition to being a practical choice, meaning that they're underground, so all the signals and energy which they give can't be detected by Earth, so we don't really know what's going on down there. It acts as a refuge from the light, where they can grow in power in the shadows.
Yeah. Alright, well, if we don't have any other questions we can answer real fast, we'll finish up this mission and move on to our next one. Yeah. Let our ghost do its...
Press the button.
Press the button. Is there?
Press it.
Here's the button. Bam! That's the button, right? That button.
Bam. Titan smash.
T-Rex arms.
Make sure you're ready.
So puny.
Yeah, it's so sad.
Hey, Hive. Hey. Beautiful. I love the music in this mission.
I think the Hive have some of the best music in the game. Like, the hard electronic was such a great choice for the Hive. Oh, I might go down again. Ow.
You know, Crota, he loves his dubstep. He's got a workout scene.
That's a great question. Oh, good night, Watersby. It's been great having you. We have Brute here in the chat wondering, how does the ghost decrypt the lock in the Fogoth strike if it's never been decrypted before?
Well, here we go back to Toland. He has categorized some of the Hive runes. I think this, in conjunction with using a kind of code-breaking system that the ghost possesses, would fill in the blanks.
Gotcha. So thanks to us having been here in the world's grave, stealing their digital books, and research on Toland and grimoires that way, the ghost was sort of able to piece together a code to break the code. Or if you prefer a less practical reason, it's because in its dying breath, the traveler made the ghosts open doors.
There is unbelievable stuff in
I
here.
knew you'd get another pun in there.
taken by the dark
That was from the chat.
and
That
they've
was from the
been
chat.
seared for centuries, waiting for the gods to return. I'll warn the city. Let's get out.
I swear, sometimes Dinklebot sounds like a little kid, waiting for their gods to return.
Really?
Oh, Dinklebot. There's a part of me that will miss it.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, we're losing Varelian too. We'll see you later, Varelian.
See ya,
Alright.
everyone.
So next mission. Next mission is the Sword of Crota.
I just realised I forgot to touch on something I was going to say.
Oh, what was that? We've got
And
time here in
It was
the
relating
orbit.
to the Bekenstein limit again.
Right, right.
The connotations of the Hive breaking the Bekenstein limit with all the information about everything they've ever destroyed basically suggests that they have destroyed everything in every dimension, in every possible future, past or present. And Toland and Osiris give credit to this, saying that, again, the Hive are not dead, but death, and Osiris quoting that the Hive cannot be stopped, but they can only be slowed, and we will hear that speech when we go and do this Shrine of Orignition.
Alright. Well, that'll be interesting. I love hearing these things in context.
Yes. But we're off to do the Sword of Crota now.
Indeed. Who gets to swing the sword this time?
One of my favourite missions. You're the one with the camera angle, so
Oh,
maybe
okay.
you?
I'll go slash things. I do quite enjoy it.
Unless you want to see me behave wildly with the sword.
I'm pretty sure that of all the sword hype in the world, I have the most.
Temple of Crota. Listen,
Long ago, the moon fell to Crota. He wielded a sword so dark it drained whatever light it touched. Now Crota sleeps, but the sword does not. The warlocks believe the sword is in a chamber guarded by the Swarm Princes. If you face them and steal the sword, we can see that it is never wielded again.
Excluding the time that we go to fight Crota and he, you know, wields it against us.
That's because the sword has a spiritual and a physical self, just like Crota himself. It is a manifestation of his power.
the sword is to kill its makers.
And
Yeah.
again, Hive, interdimensional.
One of them is said to guard
It answers
the temple set
everything.
near the Hell Mountain.
Those darn Hive.
Where are we going?
Let's see here. And welcome to Tyler95, who is apparently a new safe gamer here attending the stream, which is awesome to have you. And if you're enjoying this stream, definitely follow the Safe Gamers channel because they do all sorts of cool streams. And I'm stuck in a loading screen, huh?
Site is up ahead.
Safe Gamers do all sorts of cool streams. Yeah, and Brew, it really is just kind of as Lau said that we basically entered Crota's plane, as it were, and because both he and his sword have
Netherworld.
these physical and spiritual aspects. Sure, we destroyed a soul and we destroyed a sword, but in his realm where his body still existed, there were still enough of him and enough of his presence alive to sort of re-manifest those things and use them against us in that plane. And had we not destroyed him there, there's no telling if they wouldn't have been able to restore his soul or his body and subsequently let him loose. So it was absolutely necessary for us to pursue that to the end.
One down.
Wow,
I'll
you
leave
killed
us
him
to the
already?
Shotgun. We've been kind of breezing through our lore and sitting around at the end, so I was trying to move us a little bit faster.
Yeah. That guy there that we just killed, He was one of the Swarm Princes, and the Swarm Princes are a group of 4 princes, I think, who actually created Crota's sword, and their duty is to guard it until their master awakens. Oh wow.
Nahaldrin, I think we can say with pretty absolute confidence that Crota is dead.
Yes.
What we can't say is that the Hive are incapable of bringing him back, but I don't think that they necessarily would, even if they were remotely capable. But with how much traversing through time and planes and everything that goes on, it's impossible to say that they couldn't somehow bring back Crota. Now, as far as Oryx is concerned, I think he believes he's going to just crush us and be done with it. Pesky Guardians.
Look at it this way, if he could easily just resurrect Crota, I doubt he'd be so angry at us.
Very true. Very, very true.
The sword is close. I can feel its power.
And here's more thralls.
Gotta love Thrall.
Tell you, I'd like a mission where they throw the number of thralls at us that are described, like in the Grimoire card from the Fallen, actually, from Cade's perspective, where it's him and that Fallen warrior, and they just face down.
Oh, Baroness, yeah.
Yeah, they just face down those waves and waves of Fallen. And I wish that we could experience that number of them, just so many that we have to constantly be moving away, constantly falling back. I'd love that.
Shows you just how tough fallen barons, or a baroness in this case, are. They have killed thousands of people to get to that position. They're a one-man army, or one woman in this case. The fallen in that card was female.
Alright, here we go. I'm gonna slice some Fallen.
Do it.
Ah,
Bodies
this
flying around
mission.
everywhere.
I love this mission.
One of my favorites.
I could play this mission over and over again. Just to swing a sword. I made a joke about doing a
At least
Taken...
4 times today.
I made a joke about doing a Taken King hype stream where we just run this mission, the Fist of Crota mission, and then run around and patrol hunting down the swords just to swing them around. In the name of hype for the Taken King swords. Swarm Princes. Anything else you wanna say about Swarm Princes and what they are and?
Oh yeah. Oh, here's one.
I'll fight him.
What's his
I'll make this
name?
take a while.
Grarok? I can't really read his name. He's walking around everywhere. He is the Zol Prince, and we hear that there are many Hive with these titles. Like there are 4 titles: Ir, Zol, and Yul. And Toland hypothesizes in one of the Hive Grimoire cards that these are not the names of the Hive gods. The Hive worship gods who are Hive themselves, but they worship greater, more ancient beings with these names. And Toland hypothesizes that these beings could be the beings that actually created the Hive, and by finding them and either killing them or joining forces, whatever we're gonna do, we could actually destroy the Hive forever.
Which, frankly, if there's something out there that created the Hive, I fret to think why and what would happen were we to come face to face with it.
Oh god, yeah. They are monstrous themselves. I don't really want to meet what created them.
No.
I think that wizard that we fought earlier was, she was Earthspawn, wasn't she?
I think
She
so.
was one of the descendants of these ancient beings that were beneath the earth.
And here's the heir prince.
Maybe they're related.
Ah!
They probably are.
I'm sitting here trying to drag out the sword fight. It's somewhat difficult given that he can kill you in 2 swings. trying to deliver a cinematic sword fighting experience here.
I'm just punching stuff. Here we go.
And yes, the fact that Crota has to fight him, this mission was in fact not for naught. No other can claim his sword and run about with it. Which I think is a
That
pretty
would be
substantial
bad.
thing. Yes, very bad.
I mean, it had the power to hit the moon's crew. I don't really want anyone else using that.
I would pass on anyone picking up a weapon capable of destroying with such ease.
Did we touch on Hive and swords? I can't remember.
You did
Relationship
not.
with
You
the
did not.
swords. We can do.
Now tell us about Hive and swords. They like them quite so much.
Where everybody in swords would be useless, but a strange kind of connect swords. And in the Grimoire card, the Ascended Blade, Tolan says this, I'll read it. A shredder or a boomer is a powerful weapon, but it kills acyclically. You see? It sends out harm and takes nothing back. The bolt passes away into nothing. A sword, though, a sword is like a bridge, a crossing point. The sword binds wielder to victim. It binds life to death. And when the binding is done, the sword remembers. When the boomer's fire has burnt away into axion and neutrino scatter, the sword goes on, hungrier and sharper. Understand that nightmare logic underpins Crota's nightmare world, and you will see why the Ascendant Blade has so much power here. Whenever in our passage we find ourselves in need of power, remember that the greatest authority here, blade made keen by eons of use. This is the world that the Hive crave, a universe creased by the edge of the sharpest sword. The magic instilled in these blades is immense. They are born of dark and fossilized bone of defeated victims of the Hive.
Now, here's a very, very valid question, still kind of on the subject of swords. Is Brute here is asking how we are able to kill Crota with a sword that wasn't his. He was wondering if Crota is mysteriously just as vulnerable to other knights' swords as we are. But the sword in question wasn't just another knight's sword, correct?
Yeah, it's something called the Ascendant Blade. And as I've just read from that Grimoire card that Toland reads to us, the Ascendant Blade is a blade that underpins the logic of Crota's netherworld. It acts with the physics of that netherworld. And in that world, the sword is the most powerful weapon. Technically, it could undo the god that created it simply by the physics of that sword existing. I think that's why.
Yeah, Tyler mentioned that in Crota's world, swords have a more substantial meaning, and subsequently they are more capable of causing harm. And I think it kind of falls into that sort of conceptual power in it that in Crota's nether, swords are more powerful than they are anywhere else in the world. And they are far more meaningful and powerful than guns or bullets or rockets. And while sure, those can harm out some sort of shield or barrier, to kill him, to defeat his body, it requires a blade. It requires something that he considers true and powerful. And the blade in question wasn't just some knight's sword. It was one of significance and pertinence, which just sort of, I think, compounded that necessitation of power and meaning. Oh. So, any other questions on swords? And I mean, we may eventually, if we're able to, kind of just do streams specifically to touch on the lore and raids. But do we have anything that just kind of traipses around the edges of Crota and swords and that sort of stuff? I've really got to start like moving my cursor around in specific ways when we're sitting in orbit, so that I can know when it's the chat is caught up with me. Oh. All right, well, we're gonna move on to our next mission, which is the Shrine of Oryx. What's an Oryx? Oh.
Well, when you do this mission for the first time, you do think, what is an Oryx? Because
Yep.
it's never mentioned any other time in the campaign.
If you're just wondering, an Oryx, who's Oryx? Why is there a shrine for Oryx? Oh, and then Taken King comes along and you're like, hey, remember that Oryx guy?
Listen to this from an old warlock.
He's annoyed that you defaced his shrine and killed his son.
Crawls from the same pit, rising from the schism to swallow.
I really hope that this isn't Osiris's voice.
It will not be stopped,
It is.
but here
He needs to sound
the shrines of
more.
Oryx
This was the quote I was talking about, where he's like, the Hive cannot be stopped, but they can be slowed by destroying the shrines. And he says, every end rises from the same pit. So every end, in every time, in every world, is destroyed exactly the same way.
Ben, we should try to destroy it before it's too late.
Oh, it's interesting.
Hive are depressing, aren't they?
Oh, they're terrifying. I mean, with Vex, we have some idea of something akin to hope. With Fallen, we think, maybe we're on similar territory. With the Cabal, we think, oh, they're just military. But the Hive are this unending torrent of death and destruction, and we don't know if they end. We don't know if they cease or if we'll ever overcome. And that's daunting. Oh. Guardians.
We're gonna come across House of Exile again.
I'm picking up fallen activity.
Are we? Oh yeah. Here they come again.
Got them worked out. I'll stay on it.
There's actually a reason why they're down here. They're not just being crazy and decide, hey, let's go play ball with the Hive for a few hours.
They're invading the Hellmouth.
Oh.
They are here because the Fallen obviously have seen the darkness before, and they recognize the threat that the Hive pose to all life, including themselves. And Skolas I think it's the Skolas captured card, or is it the it's the Grimoire card for the last story mission in the House of Wolves. Skolas prophesizes the coming of Oryx. He says that the light snuffer, the dark binder is coming.
Yes.
And Barracks is like, who's that? I don't know. And the Queen's like, he doesn't need to say anymore, like as if she knows. And again, with the strike in the House of Wolves DLC, the Taniks, the Scarred strike, Skolas has hired him to steal the secrets of the Hive to use against the Hive in the coming war. So it could be argued that he made himself Kell of Kells to take on the Hive to ensure their own survival. The Fallen are here for a reason. They're trying to beat back the enemy that they know that will probably be the one to destroy them.
Well, it makes you wonder if we would have been better off trying to form a treaty with Skolas.
Definitely.
From the perspective of
Signed it though.
from the perspective of the Fallen, Skolas was a grand leader. And
Oh,
Skolas,
definitely.
he came a hero who unified the houses and devised a means to pull them all together across time and space and reality and face anything. You know, I imagine to the Fallen we are a terrifying monster. That we crushed such a great
We are
hope.
ensuring their extinction. We are committing genocide against them.
What aren't we committing genocide against exactly, other than ourselves?
This is true. But yes, I would definitely have voted Skolas for space president.
Most
No, great
definitely.
leader.
He had exceptional leadership talents.
I don't even want to know what they're keeping down there.
Oh, well, don't worry, Ghost. We get to find out. It isn't pretty. Oh, I love this gun. Yeah.
Which gun is it?
My Prestige 4 with all its bullets.
That is a vanilla gun, isn't it?
Yep, it's a vanilla New Monarchy gun.
Beautiful.
Oh, and I almost always get questions about this thing when I pull it out.
The
Yes.
chat is freaking out about your machine gun.
Yeah. It is a 150 round Prestige 4. I'm pretty sure it's the actual just the core one from New Monarchy back then. It comes with Surplus and Field Scout. So I just about always have ammo in it. I do love it. Of all the things I will miss come year 2 Destiny, I will miss my Prestige 4.
Aww.
Oh. So what is this Shrine of Oryx? Other than, you know, a communications array, really.
There are multiple shrines of Oryx, but so far this is the only one that we've found. And they act as communication relays between the Hive and Oryx himself, and also Oryx's window into our dimension.
Interesting.
He can observe our actions through this shrine.
Isn't it also a theory that the Shriekers serve the same purpose?
Yeah, in the Shrieker Grimoire card, it is discussed that Shriekers act as the sort of conduits for high-ranking Hive knights and wizards, which allow them to observe the Hive under their command.
Which is just interesting, given that we do encounter quite a lot of Shriekers. And it also informs us, you know, it leans to just... It's very possible that Oryx watched us kill his son.
Oh, definitely.
Which really doesn't bode well for us. Oh. So here we are, sabotaging connections. We are hanging up the phone between Crota and his daddy. We're very impolite, we Guardians are.
We cause family problems. We wreck homes.
We really do. We destroy fallen houses and parents and parent-child relationships.
Technically, the Fallen here are trying to wreck the parent-child relationship as well.
That's
they are
true.
trying to do exactly the same thing that we are, and that is destroy the shrine to buy them more time to prepare for Oryx coming.
We
Why
Guardians.
can't we just sit down and talk about this and work together?
We Guardians sure are homewreckers.
Oh, hello, Thrall.
Ugh, couldn't quite finish the ogre. I'm gonna go punch it.
We're gonna punch an ogre? Is that wise?
Well, I sort of...
That wasn't technically punching, was it?
I suppose if you want to get caught up on technicalities. Yes, let's attach hashtag homewreckers to all of our
Hashtag
future Guardian
homewreckers.
posts. There we go. That'll get the moms proud to have their kids playing Destiny.
Here is the Shrine of Oryx. I find it interesting how the shrine actually looks like Saturn.
That's true.
If
That
I
is
just slip
interesting.
that one in there.
Oh, man. Hello to Oncoming, who has joined us in the chat.
Loving the chat right now.
Oh, it's been great. I have really enjoyed. You guys have been a lot more talkative than last time, and it's been a blast. I love having the conversation and the dialogue, and really getting to see your guys' interest and questions. So keep it coming, and tell your friends. We will keep doing this all the way to the Taken Kings launch, and then you never know where this will go from here. You know, the Tower's Watch is a great name for future lore streams or lore-related anythings. So. Alright, I'm gonna go punch the big thing.
He's immune at the moment.
Ah. Give him a moment, and I'll go punch him.
He's got to do his catwalk entrance first.
Here we go. Hiya!
Here we go. I don't think he liked that.
Ah! Yeah, he seems to not appreciate. Oh.
Guardian down.
Yeah. The punching plan didn't go quite as well as I had hoped it would. Alright, back to it then. Sardok. What? You know, how much do we know about Sardok?
Ultimate smash.
That was beautiful.
Sardok acts. Sardok acts as one of the Eyes of Oryx. Encountered the Eyes of Crota in the below missions, and these entities basically act as guardians of the shrines of gods, which allow them to see into our dimension.
Interesting.
Protect them, and also act as their eye.
Brute
It's
just
just
pointed
a
out
copy of the
something
shrine.
very interesting, and the ghost says that Oryx technically wasn't in our solar system at this exact moment. Which
He had no reason
means
to be.
the Hive go so very, very far out from here.
He could, at the moment, be in a different dimension entirely, his own dimension, his own netherworld. But he wasn't meant to return until Crota had done what he had promised to his father, and that was to take the Earth in his name. And he hasn't done that yet.
Oh, and then we,
You're gonna punch the orb.
Yes, I am. One more.
Punch Oryx in the eye. He's
Yep.
not happy.
I hope he saw that.
Just a fist coming towards him.
Shrine. It was community something.
Nico over in the chat. You'd think they'd pick someone smaller to scout the world.
It's still out there.
Oh. So there's the Shrine of Oryx mission. We're sabotaging things. Do we know anything about Frigoris? Why attack the Hive? Or why attack Hive? Frigoris. Who?
He's a baron from the House
Yes.
of Exile. So he's one of their leaders. He actually in the window behind him you can see his own skiff which he drops out of. As barons command their own skiffs, and around him are his own crew. And he is leading the invasion to the Hellmouth, as he realizes that the Fallen have to do something about the Hive, because we have just woken them up, and they live on the moon. The Fallen live on the moon, and the Hive are as much a threat to them as they are to us. And we woke them up, so the Hive are probably going to end up destroying them as well. Hashtag homewreckers.
Oh. Home wreckers and death acid. That's what you guys can take home from the Tower's Watch here.
We have learnt much today.
The Hellmouth is full of death acid. Let's see here. And now we have the last story mission on the moon, the Chamber of Night. What can you tell us about the Chamber of Night, Lau?
The Chamber of Night is a ritual site where the Hive perform their darkest magics to siphon the light away from the Traveler, to weaken it from a distance without having to actually engage on a military level. And with the light weakened, Guardians are weakened as well. So we have less of a chance of putting up a good fight against the Hive if they actually succeed with their plan in this mission.
And thus, Titan Smash.
Indeed.
Oh. Autostyre over in the chat. When Guardians finally die, it will just be Vex and Hive, and well, that will never end. Which, honestly,
Vex create, the Hive destroy.
except that we're going to wipe them both out.
Nothing is more important.
We are so anthropocentric.
The Hive are engaged in a ritual that is
We're just, you know, super genocide machines.
whatever power they wield.
How'd the Hive get a piece of the Traveler to siphon light from? That is a good question. Do we have an... There's no...
That is a good question.
There's no canon answer on that, right?
There's no canon answer, but we can speculate that as the Hive are the purest aspect of the darkness, they have been chasing the Traveler for eons. The Traveler running from the darkness. And maybe it lost a part of itself in the war with the darkness that never ends. And somehow they got hold of it.
There are
I
a
don't
lot of
actually know
pieces
this,
missing.
though.
There are a lot of pieces missing
There are. If
from...
you look at the bottom of the Traveler, it's got loads of pieces missing. It's shattered, like an egg.
frankly, just in all its traveling... traveling. Frankly, just in all its moving about and being attacked and chased, I think it's logical to assume that those fragments had to be loose. I would assume that to make use of those fragments, it took the Hive getting this close. I also really like this Blueberries gamer tag. That was altruistic Ronin. I liked that name.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a good name. Nahalden back in here with we are genocide machines. Maybe we're not the good guys here. You
I
know,
agree with Nin.
I wouldn't
We're not
say...
approaching this the right way.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that our genocidal tendencies are really entirely canon in terms of the gameplay. Because logically we wouldn't be able to just down captains in the way we do. Just like in the Halo series, Spartans weren't able ever to down elites in the way that they do, especially like in the Reach series. So in a less game sense scaling sense, oh, we didn't scan the cracks. Now we have to head back up.
We didn't.
In just the game sense, I think we've killed a
Always forget to
lot.
Scan the cracks.
We've killed a lot less enemies than it seems like. But furthermore, these enemies are the darkness. The Hive in particular are darkness. The Hive, the Vex, and the Cabal, I think the Hive and the Vex are the most we can associate directly with the darkness, and we don't know much about the Cabal. But the Fallen are... I wouldn't necessarily even say the Fallen are a piece of the darkness, as much as they're just... Yeah, the Traveler was running from the darkness before the Fallen, and the Fallen were with the Traveler for a time. The Traveler spent time assisting and empowering the Fallen for a while, before it came to us. Again, this is more speculation than fact, which I kind of want to avoid, but I think that we Guardians are definitely dangerous, and we are invoking incredible destruction. But without what we do, we would be destroyed. Much of what we are doing would have had to have been done in the name of self-defense.
But not enough to locate the ritual yet.
I'm not sure if that really kind of settles anything. but I would never go so far as to say that we're the bad guys, or especially if you go back and listen to the first broadcast. There at the end, I talk about the Traveler, and I'm nowhere near one of those convinced that the Traveler is evil or that we're going to have to turn on the Traveler. Anything to add there, Lau? I kind of rambled.
No, I agree. I agree entirely. But still, I think we sit down with the Fallen. Barracks was a start. Barracks was a bridge to an alliance. Hopefully we can use that for both parties to ascend. Because
I think
the Fallen were the light. They are not dark. They are not evil. They are ours if they fail.
I think as far as, you know, negotiations go, I think our association with Varix and the Queen proves the possibility for an alliance with the Fallen and some sort of manageable peace. And I think that something like that may be necessary for us to survive much past Oryx. You know, maybe we overcome Oryx on our own, but the Hive Pantheon? There are things more powerful than Oryx. There are things more powerful than the Black Garden. There are things so powerful that Crota killed 1,000 Guardians. Thousands of Guardians with his sword. What can Oryx do? And what can something greater than Oryx do?
Especially those beings of immense power, the Zul and Yul that Tolan talks about. These beings even greater than the Hive gods. That's terrifying.
Yeah, there's much to be worried of.
I just realised.
Any other questions?
Oh, do a barrel roll. I fell off my sparrow, it's okay. I'm stuck in a crack now. I think I'm just gonna spawn a new one. I give up.
Any other questions? We're coming up here on the end of our stream. We're trying to close out around around 10:30. So, are there any other questions for us? About the Hive, about the Chamber of Night, Oryx, Crota, any of that? I mean,
what am I doing with this sparrow?
Whatever we can, you know, answer. I figure if we have the ability to, we will kind of move back up to talk about what's coming with the Taken King and everything story-wise. But again, this is primarily us trying to help everyone who watches and anyone who listens get caught up on what happened in year 1. Here we go. What's your favorite Hive random fact?
My favorite Hive random fact. Oh, there's so many that I like. I think it's that my favorite one would be that Thrall become ogres. That's one that not many people know.
That's incredible. And very hard to
That's
imagine.
Where ogres come from.
Oh. Honestly, cutscene, I have to be quiet.
You're interesting. Not entirely interesting, but you have promise.
Who is that?
I don't know. I'm losing the signal.
Guardian, I know what you're about to do. It's brave. But there are enemies out here you would not believe.
Out where?
Go down and face the Hive. And if you live, come find me.
Signal dropped. I got some broken coordinates. Venus, Northern Hemisphere. Ishtar region. Great. What do we do now?
We go down.
There we go. Alright, before we finish and push through here, I'm just going to throw this out for the chat. We officially have a Towers Watch email specifically for you guys to send questions to us, and that is the towerswatch@gmail. So send messages there. Send any questions about anything. Anything lore related, that is. Next week, we're going to be talking about the Vex. We're going to be talking about probably the Stranger, the Black Garden, all of that and more over next week. So if you have questions you would like to see answered, and you would like us to really kind of have time to research and look into and give you real clear answers on, email your questions to the Towers Watch. We'll get to them, we'll look over them, and we'll answer every single one that we have the time for. And if we don't have time for them, you know, we'll see about maybe doing another stream specifically for answering questions or anything else. But whatever we can do, we'll do. For the moment, we're going to finish out this mission, answer any remaining Hive questions, and move from there.
Sounds like a plan. There's no good down here.
You mean a giant thrall?
Yep.
Let's go punch it.
Punch the giant through.
It won.
Oh. Oh my God. And that is why you don't punch the giant through.
That's okay. This time I'm gonna use the alternative punch. There we go. That did the trick. Woo! Ogre 2, Guardian 0. That's about right.
Yep.
You know, it looks like down there maybe more death acid.
Maybe. I hope there is. I want to throw it at someone.
Death acid. Liquidated death acid. That's what we need. New grenade type. Oh. It's been fantastic having all of you. You've been an awesome, awesome stream chat. Tons of fun. New Guardian rock band, Death Acid. Alright guys, later on in life we're gonna have to crowdfund a single track or an album for the Death Acid Guardian band.
Death acid.
I'm sure in Safe Gamers we've got enough people to who play music that we could work something out.
Did we talk about Hive Seeders? I can't remember.
Did we talk about what? I'm sorry?
Hive Seeders, this giant thing.
Oh, no, we didn't.
Anyone wondering? Hive Seeders are the ships that Hive use as troop transports, and they are arrow-shaped because they're designed to pierce the crust of whichever planet they land upon so that Hive can burrow underneath the surface, establish a command center, and then rise onto the surface to attack the inhabitants of that world.
You know, it's really disturbing. This Thorn's bullets look exactly like Hive Seeders.
They do. Exactly like them.
Ugh. That's not worrisome at all. Makes you wonder just what
do you like?
Makes you wonder just what the burning damage of Thorn is. Are we infecting Guardians with the Hive?
Or at least their corruption.
Yeah. We'll get to Thorn one of these days. Oh look, another hole in reality.
Stop trying to pull apart my universe.
Could you not, Hive?
There's a knight up there.
You know what I'm gonna do?
I know what I'm gonna do.
Yes, the cover for Death Acid's first album will be Omnigul with a Disney princess dress on.
Yes. It's gotta happen. Can somebody do fart for this?
Death art and very Hive-y looking text. Death Acid right there.
I have drawn Skolas in an apron before. It's a long story.
Oh man. Alright, let's go take down some wizards. Or the witches that are in this circle. Are these ones called something different? Yeah, they're the siphon witches.
Scythe witches. As they are siphoning the light from the traveler to weaken it, and in turn weaken its guardians.
I don't appreciate that. So I'm going to shoot them. Hashtag Titan. Oh man.
Gotta love that necrochasm.
Come here, knights. I'm here. There we go.
I'd love those orbs.
My pleasure creating them. I'm sitting here trying to read up on chat while shooting the hive, and it's not working very well.
Oh, I'm stuck in a cloud of darkness.
Interesting little fact about the ogre we're gonna face here is the unborn type is this interesting dynamic with the hive, that there are these hive that are not necessarily birthed in their ritualistic sense, and are actually just locked away sort of untamed and unfinished in these places, and then only released under certain circumstances, such as a bunch of guardians threatening a ritual. And so Teldor is one of these unborn entities.
The ritual they undergo to become reborn is actually quite interesting. It's a lot to do with the Hive religion and their gods.
Interesting.
They are chosen to go through the ritual, which basically involves the ogres being tortured with the light to the point where they hate anything to do with the light, especially their tormentors. And the wizards who put them through this agonizing ritual offer their pain and suffering to one of the hive gods to tempt their hunger. And if the hive god's hunger is tempted, that god takes over ownership of Fogoth as an example of this. The wizard Zyol the Unwed, who you might have met in the Thorn Bounty, offered Fogoth to Crota. Crota accepted the offering, and now Fogoth, or at least he was, meant to be Crota's greatest weapon when assaulting the Earth and taking it for Oryx. But we stopped that from happening.
Indeed, we sort of shot him full of bullets. Well.
Just interesting that they feed off their pain and suffering as an offering.
It makes sense with what we know of the hive.
What is this thing?
Oh.
Let's free the traveler.
Well, guys, we are coming up to a close here. This has been an awesome stream, and we've loved having every one of you that we've had.
They were using it against the traveler, devouring it.
Be sure and
And our new
send
concept are enemies
any questions you have relating to Destiny's lore over to the the Towers Watch. I apologize. The Towers Watch at Gmail. We will do our very best to collect all those questions, look through them, and answer as many of them as we can. We would love to have so many that we can't answer them. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell everybody. Destiny has a story, and the Towers Watch is bringing it to you. It's been a pleasure, but we are going to sign off. And thank you to our awesome, awesome mods. We had Haniqua. It looks like Nahaldrin here is one of our mods. I know we had, let's see here, Rebecca was here for a while. I'm not sure if she's still around. So, it's been awesome. And, Strider, we had one more question we wanted looked at. What if Toland had lived and learned about everything from Hive from the Destinies? I imagine Toland learned about just about everything Toland wanted to. In all of his mad ramblings, there's a lot of implied knowledge, but we can't really know anything solid about what knowledge he has. Tune in next week.
I don't know if he really did.
Very true. Very, very true. I doubt it. Tune in next week. We'll talk about Venus. We'll talk about Vex, the garden, and that one stranger lady. So, it's been a pleasure. This is the Towers Watch, signing off.